ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight in Washington, Ted Koppel.
Good evening. In the Soviet Union these days, the unbelievable has become commonplace. Simply consider what happened in Moscow today. Mikhail Gorbachev requested, and the Supreme Soviet passed, a resolution of no confidence in the National Cabinet of Ministers. Gorbachev's entire cabinet is out. The entire leadership of the KGB, dozens of members of the security agency's top administrative body, were all fired by Gorbachev today. And he ordered the establishment of an investigative committee to examine the KGB's activities. Prosecutors in Moscow today charged 13 men as ringleaders of last week's coup with treason. They could face the death penalty. As for the future, Jim Laurie reports from the Soviet capital.
Addressing Russians who had left the country long ago and were now back for a visit, Boris Yeltsin today tried to reassure the world about the future of the Soviet Union.
Events have happened so fast that some have the impression of panic here and general chaos. This is a mistake. The collapse of the Kremlin center does not mean the collapse of the country.
Yeltsin outlined his view of a new union of independent republics. We don't want a big Soviet government, he said, but only a small central coordinating body in Moscow. Yeltsin went on to voice support for Mikhail Gorbachev as president of that union. Gorbachev is expected to face tough opposition at next week's Congress of People's Deputies, but Yeltsin said, "We are working together." Later, Yeltsin denied allegations that Russia sought to redraw borders with neighboring republics.
If a republic leaves the Union, we must simply sit down and talk about the rights of our Russian people who live there, about borders, about everything, just like we would in any international relationship.
But concern in the Ukraine about relations with Russia prompted both Yeltsin and Gorbachev today to send delegations to Kiev for urgent talks over the future of the Union. Shortly after last week's coup, the Ukrainians had voted for full independence. At the Supreme Soviet, Mikhail Gorbachev sought to play down reports that Yeltsin was exercising too much power. Neither the Russian president nor I believe that is acceptable, he said. And as he left Parliament, Gorbachev expressed his hope the crisis in the Ukraine could soon be solved.
We must avoid any misunderstandings. There are many emotions, and many there want extra assurances.
Both Gorbachev and Yeltsin realize relations with Ukraine are critical. Next to Russia, it's the richest and most vital republic, and any Soviet Union without it would be severely diminished. Jim Laurie, ABC News, Moscow.
The people of the Ukraine are very much aware of their importance to the Soviet Union. They are also more than a little nervous about what the Russian Republic might do if the Ukraine does leave the Union. ABC's Jim Bitterman is in the Ukrainian capital of Kiev.
In front of the Ukrainian parliament in Kiev this afternoon, the arguing went on and on. The Republic declared its independence from the Soviet Union Saturday. But now the debate is about how independent it should be. You don't understand what the Soviet Union means to us, one man said. It's a jail. But another, among the 1 in 5 Ukrainian residents who is of Russian background, saw it differently.
The Ukraine must stay within the Soviet Union. Only with the help of Russia can the Ukraine defeat communism.
The appearance of the special delegation sent here from Moscow did little to calm independent-minded Ukrainians who gathered to protest suggestions that Russia might want to take away some Ukrainian territory if the Republic leaves the Soviet Union. We like Democrats, one poster said in reference to Boris Yeltsin, but not Russian imperial chauvinists. One young man taped up another reading, "No to slaveholders from Russia."
Many of these people you see here, they think that Yeltsin really has become sort of a substitute to the former Russian Tsars and Russian leaders.
The threat, Mrs. Svetlana Poloshuk said, is that a big Russia will just substitute its control for the Soviet Union. But the tension between Russia and the Ukraine relates to more than just politics. The Ukraine has taken the first step toward establishing an independent economy by, among other things, creating a coupon system which only permits Ukrainians to buy Ukrainian goods. And some here advocate the Republic should start charging world prices for grain and other vital products exported to other Soviet republics. Militarily, the Ukrainian parliament has declared that the 1.5 million Soviet soldiers based here should report to Ukrainian authorities. While differences have always existed between the republics here, just days after the Kremlin's central authority crumbled, the Soviet Union's two most important republics now openly mistrust each other. Mistrust which may in the end present the greatest danger as the Soviet Union spins apart. Jim Bitterman, ABC News, Kiev.
Mr. Gorbachev today named a new foreign minister, Boris Pankin, who had been the Kremlin's ambassador to Czechoslovakia. The news caught just about everyone by surprise, including the old foreign minister, Alexander Besmertnik. Speaking to us from Moscow this afternoon, Besmertnik said he had expected Eduard Shevardnadze to take the job again. I asked Besmertnik to give me a thumbnail sketch of the new man running Soviet foreign policy.
Well, if it's true, that will be a different kind of man in the foreign ministry, a political man, a man from party background and a good Komsomol member with a lot of friends in those circles. He was a pretty nice ambassador in Sweden and somewhat better ambassador to Prague. But we don't know him very well because he's not a professional diplomat. So, but he's a likable guy, and I hope if he is really appointed, he could be helpful.
That seems kind of curious, doesn't it? That Gorbachev would appoint a guy who in effect is one of the old apparatchiks.
Well, he did a lot of job over there, but he has been brilliant within the last few days. He declared that he's against the coup d'etat, and he signed a little declaration which was published everywhere. So he's very popular now, and that could be the case.
Alexander Besmertnik and Henry Kissinger will be discussing the new dangers of nuclear accidents in the Soviet Union tonight on Nightline. We'll have more from the Soviet Union in a moment, how the drive for independence is being received in the smaller towns. Also, a deadly subway accident in New York City. And on the American agenda, encouraging girls to pursue careers in math and science.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Dairy Ease.
When 1 in 4 adults looks at dairy food, their stomach says stop, say no now, or pay later. Antacids aren't made for this problem, called lactose intolerance. But new Dairy Ease is. It's not an antacid, but a natural nutritional supplement that helps comfortable digestion of ice cream, cheese, and milk. Now enjoy dairy food as naturally as everyone else with pleasant-tasting, chewable new Dairy Ease.
It's Color Tile's Labor Day sale. Save up to 60%. Ceramic tile, 47 cents each. Sheet vinyl, $8.88 a square yard. DuPont Stainmaster carpet, $10.99 installed. Mini blinds, buy one, get 2 free. Come save at Color Tile's Labor Day sale. Store-wide savings. Color Tile, the #1 flooring retailer in America. And it's all for you. Color Tile. Sale ends Labor Day.
As the governments of the Soviet republics draw up plans for the future, their desire for independence is not always mirrored in the countryside. Take the Republic of Byelorussia, for example. The government has declared independence, but not everyone is convinced that that is a good idea. ABC's John Donvan is in Byelorussia.
There are advantages to living in a town like Oshmiany in the middle of Soviet farm country. The tempo of life is easy, no traffic jams or crowds, and though you still sometimes wait in line to buy food, the supply is better than in Moscow. What is in short supply here is the clamor for revolutionary change heard in the big cities. Lenin in bronze still commands the square outside Town Hall, and while the Communist Party headquarters behind him was shut down 2 days ago, it was the central government of this republic that demanded it, not the people of Oshmiany. Not that those who live here regret the passing of communism. Vladimir Prokopchik, a gym teacher, said, "What did the party give us? Why, among the communists, were there traitors?" But he is totally against the breakup of the Soviet Union, and we were surprised to hear him praising Mikhail Gorbachev. He should be allowed to finish what he started, he said. A 19-year-old, Andrei Kuzhena, told us the same thing over his garden fence. He hung a picture of Gorbachev on the back door 2 years ago and says he is still the nation's most progressive leader.
At one point, he allowed too much democracy, and people started saying anything they wanted, forgetting who let them speak freely in the first place.
There are hardships here. The department store shelves are as empty as in Moscow. But people in this town do not yet seem comfortable complaining in public. We're just peasants here, said this man when we asked his views. We're not so well educated. The sort of safe answer often given when someone else might be listening. In fact, our interviews were interrupted by police in an unmarked car, who left us alone at first but returned later, detaining us for an hour and a half of questioning. As for Oshmiany's statue of Lenin, there has been some talk of moving it. But Vladimir Prokopchuk, for one, says it should stay put. Does it hurt anyone, he asked. Is it in anyone's way? John Donvan, ABC News, Oshmiany, Belarusia.
Several changes in the Soviet media. Television viewers got a surprise this evening when they turned on the daily newscast Vremya. The program had changed drastically. Here's ABC's Jim Hickey.
The opening sequence to Vremya was familiar, not only to Soviets, but to many Americans as well, often seen in U.S. news reports. But this is what Soviet viewers saw and heard at 9 o'clock tonight.
Здравствуйте.
Hello. There will be no more official Vremya graphics. Even the program will change its name.
The correspondent who announced the sudden change was Alexander Tikhomirov. He and several others had been fired 5 months ago after protesting the Soviet military crackdown in Lithuania by refusing to report it. They were all called back today by the new reform-minded radio and TV chairman, Yegor Yakovlev. The meeting itself was covered during the broadcast.
I have asked you here not as your chairman, but as a viewer who missed you very much. I would like for you to be back on the screen again.
And so they were, less than 3 hours later. So fast, some were caught putting on makeup.
Добрый вечер.
Popular anchorwoman Tatiana Mikova was remarkable in her frankness.
В прямом эфире. Мы сейчас очень волнуемся.
We are very nervous. We had very little time to get ready. I think you will forgive us our mistakes, but we are glad that we are together again.
They promised to tell the truth, as they said they tried to do before. Jim Hickey, ABC News, Moscow.
Rune Arledge, the president of ABC News, announced today that Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev and the president of the Russian Republic, Boris Yeltsin, have agreed to appear live together in an extraordinary ABC News special next Monday night. Peter Jennings will anchor as the two leaders take questions from people across the United States. The live broadcast will take place on Labor Day following Monday Night Football, at the time when Nightline would usually be seen. We'll have more news in a moment.
3 years ago, we set out to create a sports sedan. But first and foremost, we set out to create a Lexus. Introducing the Lexus ES300 Sports Sedan.
We've just found a way to make Nabisco spoon-sized shredded wheat even better. Every shredded wheat biscuit is now toastier and crispier because each is toasted through and through. It's almost like we let each little biscuit have its very own great day in the sun. Wake up to Nabisco shredded wheat. It tastes like it's sun-toasted.
Did you know that when Alexander Graham Bell was about to invent the telephone, he stopped work because he ran out of money? Today at AT&T, we understand how important money is to a small business. So we developed AT&T Pro Watts, our discount calling plan that gives you AT&T quality at extremely competitive prices. At AT&T, almost half our business comes from small business. When you succeed, we succeed.
In New York, one of the worst subway accidents in the city's history. 5 people killed, more than 200 injured when the train they were on jumped the tracks. It took rescue workers several hours in extraordinary heat to get everyone out of the wreckage. Here's ABC's Ron Claiborne.
The 10-car subway train had suddenly derailed while switching tracks, the first car smashing into a steel pillar with such force that it was torn nearly in half.
The train just rolled off the tracks into the wall, and the front of the train twisted up into the ceiling. I don't know what else happened.
Investigators found a container of crack cocaine in the front car.
We did find a vial in the cab where the motorman was working. That has been tested by the lab. It tested positive for cocaine.
Immediately after the accident, the train's motorman disappeared. Hours later, authorities found him several miles away near his home in the Bronx.
The New York Transit Authority says motorman Robert Ray had been driving the train erratically just before the accident, twice overshooting subway stations where he was supposed to stop. And officials say at the time of the accident, he may have been speeding. Earlier this year, Ray was suspended for 3 days for running a signal. A drug test at that time was negative. This evening, Ray was placed under arrest and will be formally charged tomorrow. And he could face further criminal charges if he tests positive for drugs or alcohol. Ron Claiborne, ABC News, New York.
New evidence that the recession really has not ended. The Commerce Department today revised downward its latest figure for the gross national product. Instead of rising by 0.4% from April to June, as was first reported, it actually fell by 0.1 point, the third straight decline. Here's ABC's Stephen Ogg.
American factories produced fewer goods than the government thought they produced during the spring, and consumers spent less than the government thought they spent. That was the reason the government had to lower its estimate of the gross national product, the sum total of all the goods and services the nation produces. President Bush says as far as he's concerned, everything is still fine.
There's some statistics up and some down, but basically I think it's doing all right.
But many economists say reluctant consumers are holding the economy back.
The consumer isn't feeling as rich as he used to. His house and his stocks and that is not growing as fast as it did. Plus, his income is not growing much faster than inflation, so that doesn't leave much left over to increase spending with.
The latest consumer confidence surveys confirm this. The ABC News Money Magazine survey says a record 53% of Americans now say their personal finances are not in good shape. And with 2/3 of American economic output depending on consumer spending, that's pointing toward one of the slowest economic recoveries since World War II. Stephen Ogg, ABC News, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose more than 29 points to close at 30.55. Trading was active. When we come back, the American Agenda.
He fought the storm as long as he could. And then there was nowhere else to go. There is a place where the lost can find refuge.
Storm really nailed this little guy.
It's SeaWorld, an Anheuser-Busch company. Here they've rescued thousands of marine animals and returned them to the sea. 251 in the last year alone.
This guy looks pretty beat up. I didn't think he'd make it when he first came in. His name, we called him George. He was great.
This program, though, is just one of the many Anheuser-Busch supports to preserve wildlife.
Come on.
Why do we do this? Because we believe the world we share is only given to us in trust. The continuing Anheuser-Busch commitment to preserving wildlife as our pledge and promise to you. And to the Georges of the world.
Doctors know there's a flaw in eggs. They're high in cholesterol, and diets high in cholesterol and fat can contribute to heart disease. Fleischmann's Egg Beaters are 99% real egg with 0 cholesterol and 0 fat. Egg Beaters, eggs without the flaw.
Orafix really sticks. New formula Orafix Special really sticks with you. And it's guaranteed to hold dentures tight or your money back. Orafix really sticks. Guaranteed.
I'll get the dressing.
Let's make it fresh. Good seasons.
Dressing's great.
Good seasons. You make it fresh. You make it best.
Today, there's a prescription strength cure for athlete's foot. Lotrimin AF, the #1 prescribed athlete's foot medication available without a prescription. Lotrimin AF, the prescription strength cure for athlete's foot.
On the American agenda tonight, women in science. Today, the American Association of University Women issued a call to action for schools to pay more attention to teaching girls about science. Women make up only 25% of this country's mathematicians, 12% of its chemists, 10% of its physicists and astronomers, and 4% of its engineers. Our agenda correspondent, Carol Simpson, on what's being done.
Careers in science and math appear to be among the last male bastions in America. These young girls in Massachusetts think they know why.
Nobody thinks that women should be involved in science very much. Well, maybe they think they won't be treated equally because some men, they think it's a man's job.
I think it's a turnoff for girls because a lot of girls do not like seeing the inside of frogs and a lot of kind of other pigs and other kind of animals.
The girls are right. There are many reasons why women don't pursue math and science, but the major one seems to be that girls don't get encouragement. Not from teachers, not from parents.
We have a problem of underexposure and a problem of under-expectation. Too many parents are still shopping for girls in what is now the pink and purple aisle at the toy store.
Don't worry about what I'm doing.
There are efforts to break down the barriers between women and science and close the gender gap in those important and high-paying fields. 5 years ago, Girls Incorporated, formerly known as Girls Clubs of America, began Operation SMART, which stands for Science, Math, and Relevant Technology.
Operation SMART hopes to build confidence. Confidence that there are opportunities for girls that they might not see. Opportunities in fields that maybe they're not familiar with.
Did you try it? Try it.
The program, targeted at girls 6 to 14 years old, provides them hands-on opportunities to explore science and technology.
How? Go back up to modify.
They are urged to experiment and to make mistakes. Math and science activities are offered after school, on weekends, and in special summer programs. This is Camp Paradise in Beverly, Massachusetts, where this summer 60 young girls are learning to overcome the eek and yuck factors, which often keep girls away from science.
Ew, yuck. What is this?
Initially, most of the girls didn't like the idea of examining large pellets of bone and fur, which owls have regurgitated.
At the beginning, it sort of bothers you, but then you just start thinking about how fun this is, and then you don't really care.
At the take-apart table, many girls are using tools for the first time to take apart telephones, computers, and record players to see what makes them work.
Oh, it's going to fly right off.
Over here, they're learning not to be afraid of electricity, making fans turn, bells ring, and lights light. This summer, the girls have learned a lot about science.
And we found a mole's shoulder blade.
And a lot about themselves.
It's disgusting, but it's fun. Because my father never lets me work with tools, but I got to work with them. Because it is fun.
And you feel good right after you do it. Because you only need to try. If you try it, you can be a winner.
The government has set a goal of becoming #1 in the world in science and technology by the year 2000. But the nation has no hope of reaching that goal unless more women go into the scientific fields.
We'll have a much smaller talent pool. It means you may not have that new product that suddenly produces jobs for lots of other people. It means you don't perhaps have that great discovery.
Women have just as much brains that men do, and they can do it as much as men can do. I bet they could probably do more things than men can do.
Little girls like 8-year-old Carrie are getting the message. Carol Simpson, ABC News, Beverly, Massachusetts.
We'll have our final report in a moment.
Farragran wants to know. Changed my life. Not much. With Ferrogran M multivitamins with minerals, fine-tuned for the way you live.
To get rid of her gray, my wife can spend 40 minutes. But I discovered this 5-minute hair coloring.
The revolutionary discovery called Just for Men from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men and in 5 minutes shampoo out.
Gray is blended away. The look of my natural color is back in 5 minutes. That was me, and it won't fade or wash out.
My hair takes forever, but you look great in just 5 minutes.
The look of your natural color in just 5 minutes with Just for Men.
Not long ago, these women would have shied away from these hugs. You would too if you were wearing a diaper. But today, Johnson & Johnson brings you the breakthrough. Serenity Guards. Bladder control protection so advanced you'll never need anything bulky again. Serenity holds as much as something 5 times its size, locking liquid into a gel that won't leak. That's proven protection. So give yourself a hug for discovering Serenity from Johnson & Johnson.
Which brand of dishwashing liquid gives you the most for your money? We'll find out in tonight's Consumer Corner here on Channel 2 News at 6.
And finally tonight, redrawing the maps. How often have we heard that phrase during the past week? Events in the Soviet Union and the drive toward independence in the republics are redrawing all the maps. Well, it happens to be true, quite literally. Here's ABC's John McKenzie.
Looking at all the changes in the Soviet Union has turned a mapmaker's world upside down. Rep local globes in Broadview, Illinois turns out 5,000 globes a day. And any day now, they could all become obsolete as Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania gain their independence and their own colors on the map.
There have been upheavals, but nothing as dramatic as this and in so much doubt as this.
Here they plan to let the State Department decide just when a republic should be colored a country. But they seem ready for any eventuality. Rand McNally proved there is some latitude. The world's largest commercial mapmaker decided not to wait for Washington.
We have to be pure geographers and cartographers here and try to determine what in fact is the world status of various geographical events.
The company has stopped the presses to redesign its maps and redefine the Baltics. Redrawing the map of the Baltics could be just the beginning. Almost every Soviet republic has its own language, and each could end up renaming every city, town, and river. From Uman to Ivano-Frankovsk, nothing on the map seems secure.
But it is a tremendous incentive concerning job security because we know we're going to be busy for a long time.
It essentially means that people must update their globes, and that can be good for our sales, certainly.
With the shape of things to come up in the air, mapmakers realize knowing where to draw the line is also good for the bottom line. John McKenzie, ABC News, Broadview, Illinois.
And that's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Ted Koppel. Hope to see you later on Nightline. Have a good evening.
And now, the news continues with Channel 2 News.